episode 54 of the Unscripted Company podcast. We have an episode filled with government scandal, asteroids headed towards our planet, and some lasers coming out of our U.S. Navy ships. But it's Unscripted Company, so who knows if we'll actually end up even talking about all three of those. Riley, you got a question of the week for us?
I do have a question of the week for you. Let me ask you, this is going to be a would you rather question for this week. Would you rather live in a reality where every conspiracy theory is real, or one where ghosts exist but can interact with the living?
Wow. Okay, that's... My gut initially tells me the second one. What is it? To live in a reality where ghosts are real?
And they can interact with humans.
And they can interact with
living people.
Yeah, because I think, in my opinion, that's the better option. Because if you go live in a world where every conspiracy theory is real, Lord help you. Because think about all the wacky conspiracy theories that are out there. Think about just the ones alone we've referenced on this podcast.
And that doesn't entice you?
No, that terrifies me. Because think about it, when you get into like some really deep, cynical, dare I say demonic conspiracy theories, if that were to be real, like a simple one, and maybe we've talked about this before jokingly, you know, the whole conspiracy about out in Hollywood, they're all worshiping Satan and things like that. And it's a big conspiracy. Mm-hmm. If that was real, that is terrifying.
But it is real. So, I mean, if you really think about it, we're already living in that reality where all the conspiracy theories are. They're real to us because we really know what's going on.
That is true. That is very true. Does it terrify you to think that aliens and UAPs are real? Like, we're at that point in time where, like, it's real. We just don't know what it is, but we know it's real.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it necessarily terrifies me. It doesn't terrify me yet. It doesn't terrify me until we're at a point where, you know, some Independence Day stuff is about to go down. Like, that's where I'm like, okay, like, I'm a little scared now. Like, we could potentially just all get evaporated and just, you know. So.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. Well, that being said, what do you think? Would you rather live in a world full of ghosts that can interact with humans, or you said live in a world where every conspiracy theory just so happens to be true?
I mean, so it doesn't. So I'm a very critical thinker. So it depends on how far back the conspiracy theories go. Like if we're talking like JFK,
all of them.
Okay, then if we're talking like JFK, then like again, like stuff like that. I do agree with you. It's one of those things where it's like that would be terrifying because it's like that means like all the government scandals would come out, like the Diddy parties, like the government, like the hierarchy of those Diddy parties.
Think about what little we do know. Now imagine what else on a higher level we have yet to find out.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't it, not to just totally go off the rails, wouldn't it be wild to come to find out that, let me put Trump aside, because I don't know where Trump plays in this whole conspiracy I'm about to throw out, but what if you had to be indoctrinated into some legit archaic, ancient, demonic worshiping cult of some kind in order to become like the president of the United States or some high-ranking level of power in a Western government? Wouldn't that be wild to find out that is true?
Probably is, but yes, it would be.
I know, that's the whole thing, is like it probably is. I mean, but to find out, like, yes, this is true.
I'd probably take the ghost one then, just because like I feel like that'd be interesting. Like I really feel like that'd be interesting, but it just depends on what kind of ghost. Like we're talking like poltergeists and demonic spirits. We're talking about just like some friendly ghosts that just they want to inconvenience you. Like,
or it could just be like that ghost that really doesn't mean to be annoying, but they really are, and they just kind of pester you in very mundane situations. Like you're trying to wash the dishes, you're trying to vacuum the floors, and it's just like, hey man, hey man, hey.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ghost one seems, at this point, it does seem more viable. But let us know in the comments what you think. Would you rather live in a world where all the conspiracy theories are real and that you're living in that world, or would you rather live in a world where ghosts can interact with the living?
Now we're recording this roughly about 24 hours before the big game, otherwise known as the Super Bowl. I don't know do you know what number Super Bowl it is this year? It's like 50 something, right?
54.
54. You got to know your Roman numerals to keep up at this point because the logo's always.
Dude, yeah. I think it's 54.
Yeah. So I thought it'd be fun. What if we each got on the record for what we think the final score of the game's going to be and who the winner is? And maybe we could make some fun prop bets. Like, just thinking that, by the time this comes out, the Super Bowl has already occurred. So everyone listening will already know, if we're full of crap or not and what we're about to say. But it'd be fun to try to guess who do you think is going to win? What do you think the final score is going to be? And then if there's going to be any like insane moments. Because I heard some rumors. The first one, I don't think it's a rumor. I think it's confirmed. Trump will be there. I saw something about he's like the first sitting president to actually go to a Super Bowl game. The second one, which I haven't seen a lot of facts to back this up yet, is still kind of in the breaking news territory where we're still trying to figure out what's the truth here. Apparently, Elon Musk spent like $30 million of his own money to run some ad campaigns during the Super Bowl to talk about some of the more recent spicy political news that's going on. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. For those listening, you already know if that happened or not. But let me ask you this. Who do you think is going to win? And what do you think the final score is going to be? Kansas
City's going to win. It's going to be 41-38.
Ooh, okay. Is it going to be 41-38? Do you think there's going to be like you're going to break away at the tail end of it? Or do you think it's going to be close and then...
I think it's going to be Philadelphia is going to come out strong. I feel like it's going to be like a New England Patriots and Atlanta Falcons situation where Philadelphia's defense is just going to come out hard, like, beating them. Like, don't get me wrong, Kansas City will probably have a couple scores, but Philadelphia's going to be leading, and they're not going to take they're going to kind of, I don't want to say they're going to ease up, but Pat Mahomes is just going to go out there and Pat Mahomes and his best three offensive teammates that he's got, the three referees that are calling the game, are going to go out there and they're going to come out and they're going to win it. Like they're going to win. I truly feel like Kansas City's going to win. Like I feel that's going to happen.
Yeah, I kind of tuned out of the NFL this year, especially after I learned that the Cowboys were just going to be themselves for another season. But it's hard to bet against Pat Mahomes. I mean, the dude he's already legendary, and it still feels like he's still in the early days of his career. Like he's a pro's pro, but
he could retire right now and be set for life.
Yeah, or he could play for the next decade.
Yep, and that's crazy. Scary.
Yeah. So I feel like it's hard to bet against him. I have no idea what the final score is going to be because I don't know how Philadelphia even looks this year. I haven't watched any playoff games, to be honest with you.
Barkley he's kind of a beast this season. Yeah. Like he had some amazing plays and runs. So I feel like their defense is what's going to hold them up though against Kansas City for the first half of the game at least.
What if the final score is 21-10? Philadelphia wins. Imagine.
Then as a Cowboys fan, I have to hear all about it, especially from one of the guys at our church who's a Philadelphia Eagles fan.
Ooh, that's harsh. Does he always say fly, Eagles, fly?
No, but whenever I always make fun of the Eagles and we're playing basketball, like all of us at the church, and I make a joke about the Eagles, he was like, all right, don't blame me for what's about to happen. And it was because of that I took an elbow to the rib cage and got some severely bruised ribs in the process.
Yikes.
And so I haven't been able to go to the gym for the last week.
Did you see that clip? This might have been about 2 weeks ago, I think. Was it the mayor or was it someone on city council? I think it was the mayor. The mayor of Philadelphia tried to get an Eagles chant going. You know how they go like E-A-G, like they spell out Eagles and then they do that whole thing. And they misspelled Eagles and everyone was like kind of like, ooh, what? Did you see that video at all?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
They're Philadelphia fans.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find that real quick. I think it was the mayor. Yeah, here we go. Philadelphia Mayor Sherrell Parker tried to start an Eagles chant. Is it this one? I think it's this one. Let's find out.
ELGSES Eagles. Let's go birds.
So, for those of you, was I sharing audio on that? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, for those of you following along at home, I'll play it one more time real quick. Just think about how you spell eagles, and then spell it in your head as she says it.
ELGSES Eagles.
That's all I got.
How do these people get into like I'm speechless. How do these people get into office, man?
That's a great question. Some of it's probably just a popularity contest. They know how to say the right things at the right time, but there's really nothing of substance behind the scenes.
Cool.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah.
What do you think the score is going to be? You think it's going to be the 21-10?
No. I wouldn't. I mean, when you get Pat Mahomes in there, points are going to be scored. Question is, can he just score more points than his defense will give up?
I feel like that's what it comes down to at this point in the
Yeah.
Super Bowl. It's never really, they say defense wins championships, but now we have so many quarterbacks that are different
Yeah.
that it's just whoever can throw the most points up.
Let me throw something out there as well. Let me do like 42-36.
Okay.
Don't ask me how we get to the 36, but it's going to happen. It could be a safety.
Well, yeah. Because I'm trying to like think. I'm like, that'd be some 2-point conversions.
Yeah. Things get spicy at some point. Who knows? But I'm going to go 42-36. I'll go Chiefs.
Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, I have no idea because I haven't watched the Eagles. They could be better. But
I mean, in the games that they played, they did look better like than every team that they played. I mean, I will say, like, I didn't expect them to beat Washington as bad as they did. Like, they beat Washington. Like, I think this final score was like 55-14 or something like that. Like, but Washington played really well going into the playoffs. So I don't know.
Yeah,
we will see. We will
see.
Tomorrow's the game. The game that I will probably not be watching. That I'm just gonna like check the final score.
Dude, this is the first time I think where I don't care about watching the Super Bowl. I feel like I'll end up watching aspects of it maybe just to be aware of what's happening. But the commercials don't do it for me anymore. I don't really care. And if any of them are good, you'll see them on YouTube almost immediately. Some of them are already airing. That's the funny thing is some of these companies, they will, sink millions into producing a Super Bowl spot. And then because of the internet, they'll put it on YouTube beforehand. So you don't even have to watch the game to like see these like groundbreaking commercials.
Right.
And I'm sure some of them will surprise us. Like these, if Elon Musk really does run some ads, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, how was your week this week?
That's a good question. How was my week this week? It's relatively good, I think. What did I do? I worked, and then I didn't work. I went to the store, bought some groceries. It's a good time. Cooked some dinners.
Yeah.
Had some lunches. Man, what have we done? Well, on Thursday we ordered pizza. That was the first thing that popped in my brain just now. Man, what did we do on Wednesday? You're asking questions from days that are too far gone in the past now for me to recall. Man, what did we do? Oh yeah, we made pork chops. It was pork chops and a pasta salad.
Okay.
It's good. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I'm so bad when it comes to like when someone goes, "Oh, how's your week been?" I'm like, "Well, I literally worked, and then I just kind of hung out in the evenings.
Yeah.
Read the news, exciting stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have my friend group we do a weekly Dungeons and Dragons,
right?
Or it's bi-weekly technically. So we did that last night. It's kind of fun. We ran into this traveling caravan of, we're calling them demonic clowns? Question mark. But it's been a whole thing. There were bees involved, and Abby's character may or may not have tried to get married to this Mun man. It's very complicated.
Okay.
But, yeah, it's good. How was your week?
I don't know. Part of it felt very uneventful, but like, I mean, a lot of it was just me getting caught up on a bunch of stuff and, playing it like when owning a business. I mean, I'm trying to figure out the next steps and essentially just trying to get business, at the end of the day. Again, I got ideas for future businesses, or at least one for sure. I want to get my laser engraver up and running, and I'm looking at investing in a 3D printer because
What do you want to print with it?
well, I've been seeing some like really cool things. Like this person made like a Blastoise, like a
Okay. Yeah,
giant
yeah.
Blastoise figure.
Oh, like a big one.
Yeah, and
Okay.
he like painted it and everything like that, and then he would sell them. So I'm like, I can do similar at like things like that for people and like sell stuff like, or if someone has like a custom thing like, hey, what do you want? Like I'll see if I can make it happen
Yeah.
and uh, stuff like that. It also come in handy too in a shop. Like I watched this one guy who he uses a 3D printer to print off like things for his shop that he could hold like tools and certain things in. So it kind
Yeah.
of comes in handy. You don't have to spend the money on stuff. You can just print stuff off. But yeah, I've always just wanted a 3D printer. They're so cool, and so I've always wanted one. But yeah, just kind of like we're already 2 months into the year, almost 2 full months into the year, and I'm just trying to really nail down some things that I'm wanting to accomplish and achieve this year. Some goals for us. We're finally about to start our retirement investing. Hopefully, if I can close on these properties, then we're gonna start that process. Get some Roth IRAs opened up and stuff like that, so we can start on that. But other than that, I mean, the week was good. I mean, it was just kind of just chill. I worked from home a lot of the days of the week. Had some meetings, met up with some people. Yeah, nothing too exciting. I'm hoping and expecting to put. Well, they actually told me they wanted to move forward with it, but that 2.9, they want to move forward with it, but they don't want to offer the 2.9. So I'm like, okay, let's have a discussion about this like tomorrow or later this week and figure out where we're at with everything. And then my listing is supposed to be coming up next week as well, so that's exciting and that's good.
I don't know if you're able to say, but where geographically, where is that 2.9?
It's Aubrey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
And then my listing will be in Frisco.
Okay.
So, and then they're looking to buy as well. So the goal is to try to get this listing sold as soon as possible so that we can start looking and then go under contract for something else. And then got some other people who are looking to buy, but just none of them are actively looking to move on anything. Now, I did, however, have a couple. It's very disgruntled, but I kind of saw this coming. We went and looked at a house. And then they wanted to go look. They wanted to go talk to the new build people because they have some new phases that they're about to start working on that won't be closing until next year. And he said that he had been meaning to get back with me, but that's BS. I'm just going to say that right now because if he meant to get back with me, he would have in the 2 weeks since we'd met each other. But they ended up signing and purchasing a house that same day after we went and looked at a couple properties, and so they closed next year. Now, granted, a lot can happen between now and next year. Like job changes, all kinds of stuff can happen between now and next year where you have to back out of the contract. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. A part of me kind of wanted to call the new build company and be like, yeah, this is actually my client, and have them sign a buyer's rep and be like, like, come on, just like I literally, you're not even paying me at the end of the day. The builder would pay me. So it's like, what does it matter if I'm helping you or not? Like I'm actually helping you in a better way. And I should have honestly asked him that. I would have been like, hey, so like I know you're working with the builders, but I think it would do you guys some good to have some representation. Builders typically pay our fees. You wouldn't have to pay me anything. Would you guys still be open to working with me that I could represent you on this so that to make sure that you're getting taken care of? And that way then I can get him to sign a buyer's rep that way. But we'll sorry to kind of too. I mean, I could still technically call him and ask him, be like, "Hey, like I know we talked last week, but would you guys be open to this?" And see what they say. See if there's a way that it can still be done.
Yeah, if you present it in a way of explaining the resources and the backup that you can provide, like and try to convey it in a way to say like, hey, if you go direct to the builder could take advantage of you in a sense, and you need someone in your corner to knows the ropes,
right? Yeah, and so I may like send him a text and then follow up with a phone call, or if I can call him and leave a voicemail and then send him a text and just say, hey, I know we didn't necessarily go with that, but I can still be a resource for you guys if that's something that y'all are open to, if they're able to do it. We can kind of go from there and see what they say, and I can just call the new build company. But either way, I'm trusting in God. It's all going to work itself out.
Well, fun fact, he is actually a subscriber to the podcast, so he's heard your plan. I think he said yes. If you check the comment section after this uploads, I'm sure he said yes.
Yeah, no, he did. He did. Even if he didn't say it in the comments, I know he did. It's going to happen. It's going to be good. But yeah, other than that, the week was good. Just kind of just chill. Nothing crazy. Just focusing a lot on, some aspects of life and kind of figuring out where we want to be at,
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Well, I know you have some topics. I have some topics. I want to start off with talking about, did you see the news at all with Elon and his Doge team going into USAID?
I did. I didn't see a lot, but I saw some of it.
Yeah. So I'm going to do my best to try to explain that and try to fill in the gaps because this is still kind of breaking news. It happened this past week. There's a lot of unknowns, which, I don't know, some more stuff could come to light if Elon really did buy some time slots in the Super Bowl to talk about some of these crazy findings. But to get those of you up to speed who don't know anything of what we're talking about, hopefully you've heard about, there's a team, it's called Doge, it's the Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk. He has a team, a lot of people that are coming in from, Silicon Valley, the tech world, the business world, and they're working with the Trump administration to, help to figure out where the rot is. So, the U.S. government has a massive budget every year, surprise to nobody, but we've also heard over the years we keep getting into more debt. And so the question is, well, what's causing us to get into debt, right? So let's look at the budget and let's see where's the money going. And let's see if we can, cut some of the waste, cut some of the rot out, and hopefully, turn the ship around. So think of it like a business, right? If you're only making so much money per year, you don't want to spend more than you're making because then you're in a constant deficit. Well, that's where the U.S. government's been basically our entire lifetime. So let's begin our story here. I'm going to throw up some articles here. Now, Riley, do you remember late January, there was a lot of hoopla. I don't think we talked about it on the podcast, where Trump signed an executive order freezing all federal spending except for, I think it was like Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, and some of the mission critical things to keep people alive and keep them alive, basically.
Yeah.
Well, part of that exercise was it kind of gives Doge the opportunity to say, okay, let's pause all spending and let's start to analyze where this money's going, right? So if money keeps flying out the door, kind of the only way to be able to pause and say, okay, let's see what's going on here is to audit the books, right? So they froze the funds, or they started to, but they noticed throughout this time period that this department, USAID, was still spending money, even though Trump put an executive order in saying, hey, stop spending money. So this prompted Doge to go look at USAID and figure out what the heck is going on over there. Well, a lot has been going on from a lot of different angles. So I have this article here from the New York Post that does a pretty decent job trying to explain what Doge ran into. And then I have some fun examples that will go down a rabbit hole here with what Elon and his team actually found. So from the New York Post, it says, Trump admin rips down USAID sign at agency headquarters as Doge looks to slash its workforce. It says the Trump administration moved ahead Friday with the dismantling of the U.S. Agency for International Development, otherwise known as USAID, despite legal challenges from department employees by tearing down or covering up signage on the building's headquarters. So he's in the process of shutting down the agency's headquarters right now. Now, why is that? The American Federation of Government Employees, a union repping USAID, has sued President Trump, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and other administration officials for recalling at least half of the agency's more than 10,000 member workforce back to Washington, D.C. from foreign posts. It says workers at the agency also blocked out signs at 1300 Pennsylvania Avenue, just a 10-minute walk from the White House, with duct tape and trash bags, and the building's lease was terminated, according to sources who spoke with Politico, which Politico is an interesting player in this story, which we'll get to there. It says a reduced workforce of roughly 600 are expected to continue distributing critical humanitarian assistance and public health funding for projects, one of the sources told the outlet, after a federal judge barred Trump from laying off more than 2,000 other employees. So Trump went on True Social, and this is a direct thing from his post, saying, USAID is driving the radical left crazy, and there is nothing they can do about it, because the way in which the money has been spent, so much of it fraudulently, is totally unexplainable. President Trump posted on his Truth Social account on Friday, also saying, the corruption is at levels rarely seen before. Close it down. And for those of you listening, he typed that in all caps. Everything I just said from Trump, he typed it in all caps. So, picture him boldly saying this. Now, some context here. Billionaire tech mogul Elon Musk began the process of shuttering USAID last weekend with his team of Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, the engineers from there, who gained access to the agency's headquarters as part of their mission to review more than $40 billion in funding programs and trim wasteful spending. The White House later put out a press release touting millions of dollars in ridiculous grant approvals for groups promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion, and left-wing climate initiatives abroad, among so many other things. This past Monday, all staff who work in Washington, D.C. office were also ordered to stay at home, and Marco Rubio was announced the acting administrator of USAID. So basically what happened is, and I'll show you some examples, we had Trump place an executive order saying, hey, let's freeze all funds. Mm-hmm. Doge was looking over the books and noticed, hey, all these funds are supposed to be frozen for a moment in time. I think it was 90 days in total. But they saw that USAID was still spending money. And so they're like, hang on a minute. If we're not supposed to be spending money, why are you spending money? Not only that, let's go take a look at what you're spending money at. So the kind of setup to this is pretty hilarious. And I was reading into this. This is something very similar to what he did at Twitter when he took over Twitter, which ended up leading to the Twitter files, where when Elon first bought Twitter, the whole joke about Twitter was that no matter how well run Twitter was before Elon, for some reason that company just could never turn a profit. They were always touting that, like, no matter how large our platform grows, no matter how many advertisers we have, we just can't turn a profit for whatever reason. So when Elon first bought Twitter, he brought in a team similar to Doge currently, and they went through an exercise of what I was reading where they just said, you know what, let's just pause all the credit cards and just see what happens. Because they didn't know where half the funds were coming out of Twitter in terms of just budgetary line items, right? And so by basically turning off the spigot of cash coming out of Twitter, they began to find out who was leeching off the system, figure out, those people that start to call and say, hey, you owe us some money for this service you use. And then Elon and the company board say, well, we don't even know what this is. And then they start to ask the questions of, okay, if you're saying we owe you money for this, are we even using this product? First of all, can we cut the subscription? It would be like if you were subscribing to all these, streaming platforms, and then you didn't even know you had access to Netflix, but you were paying for Netflix the whole time. Wouldn't you want to turn off the subscription you're paying for this service, right? So Elon did this with Twitter and actually turned X profitable, and it's doing very well to this day. So like the turnaround at Twitter, he basically took Twitter, which was hemorrhaging cash constantly, almost for its entire lifetime. And now it's in like a very healthy state where the banks that actually funded the debt that he used to acquire the company, the banks are actually making profit off this now. So they're in the process of selling the debt. So just want to say, like, Elon's done this before from like a corporate level. So now he's doing this at the US government. Well, when they started to audit the books at USAID, they started to find some rather peculiar things that our tax dollars are being spent on. So I went straight to the White House to provide this. There's other news outlets out there, but I figured, you know what? If the White House is posting it, let's use them as the official source, right? Because some of this is pretty absurd. So at USAID, waste and abuse runs deep. This is from the White House, February 3rd, 2025. It says, for decades, the United States Agency for International Development has been unaccountable to taxpayers as it funnels massive sums of money to the ridiculous and, in many cases, malicious pet projects of entrenched bureaucrats with next to no oversight. Here are only a few examples of the waste and abuse found at USAID.
I remember most of these. I saw a press release, the woman who does like all the press release stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
And she read off a list of this to a Democrat who was like trying to entrap, as they always do when they have the opposite side. And she was like, well, here's a list of everything that money was being spent on that doesn't need to be money doesn't need to be spent on. So anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And I actually have a video I was going to throw up after this of some of that, because it's so crazy the more we learn about this, because I know I said this at the beginning, but we're still finding out some of these crazy things that tax dollars are being spent on without the vast majority of Americans even being remotely aware that this is happening. So here's just a few examples straight from the White House. $1.5 million to, quote, advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in Serbia's workplaces and business communities. $70,000 for production of a DEI musical in Ireland. $2.5 million for electric vehicles in Vietnam. $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia. $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. $2 million for sex changes and LGBT activism in Guatemala. $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt. Hundreds of thousands of dollars for a nonprofit linked to designated terrorist organizations even after an inspector general launched an investigation. Millions of dollars to Eco Health Alliance, which was involved in research at the Wuhan lab. Quote, hundreds of thousands of meals that went to Al-Qaeda affiliated fighters in Syria. Funding to print personalized contraceptives, birth control devices in developing countries. Hundreds of millions of dollars to fund irrigation canals, farming equipment, and even fertilizer used to support the unprecedented poppy cultivation and heroin production in Afghanistan, benefiting the Taliban. And there's so much more we're learning. We're learning this day after day about these crazy line items that literally taxpayer dollars are being spent on right now. In addition to that, we're starting to find out, WikiLeaks broke some information saying that USAID has been funding over 6,200 journalists across 707 media outlets and 279 media NGOs, which are non-government organizations, including 9 out of 10 media outlets in Ukraine. So not only are we spending money on some of these crazy things, like there is that opera and a comic book and poppy field cultivation, but we're also paying journalists directly. Now, we're starting to find out which journalists, which publications may be getting some of the funds. One thing that was very interesting was actually the day of this news starting to break, there was a bit of a viral moment where Politico wasn't able to make payroll for their journalists. Now, people have said, or Politico has said, that it's unrelated to some of the funding from USAID being cut because of the Trump administration coming in and turning off the spigot of funds. But you can't help but wonder, is there a correlation to be had with, Elon and Trump finding out that taxpayer dollars are going to fund journalists and outlets that heavily lean in one direction, and them not being able to make payroll? So part of this also I have a list here, and this is still kind of breaking. So some of these numbers will probably change. We'll probably learn about more. But word on the street is so far, USAID has been funding Reuters for $300 million, Politico between $8 and $32 million, the BBC about $3.5 million, and the New York Times at just over $3 million. And I'm not going to play this whole clip, but I got a little clip here to try to break down just how crazy this is.
I can't hear any audio.
Okay, let me make sure I'm sharing audio. That probably helps. Aha. All right.
Aid has been funding, which is our tax dollars through government grants and loans, Project Predict, which is the creation of COVID. There's NGOs such as the Catholic Charity Scam and the Lutherans and the Jewish Family Services, $300 million a month to facilitate illegal immigration. USAID is funding the BBC. It came out this morning. They are funding the piggy bank. They're larger than the CIA by a multiple.
By the way, stop the presses. We're going to have you on for 10 hours soon. We'll do a 2-hour commercial free. I didn't even know that yet, but that goes to figure. The government funded, they have to pay a license to have a TV in the UK. Almost no one watches it. It's literally run by pedophiles that's come out. And they are getting taxpayer money for the American people. Wow, so Americans are paying a BBC tax as well. Holy Toledo.
And they're paying, and the USAID and through NGOs is paying Reuters to London to do hit pieces on conservatives across the United States.
$300 million to target Musk, which again, that's really MI6. Incredible.
Jim Ferguson just published on Jim Ferguson UK is funded by USAID, and he's that's one source. There's others that are coming out with it. Benny Johnson has just come out with it that the BBC is being funded by USAID. So, and I know Reuters is too. I came over that before, is that Reuters is
that's even come out now, and that came out in the last about a month and a half ago. That's confirmed.
So what I think is crazy about this, if the government is funding certain news outlets that lean a certain way, like, is that not by definition like creating propaganda?
It is. It 100% is, but also too, it's like you're intentionally steering people in one direction. Like, you're not letting that, you're taking away their free will to think, because you're just pushing stuff in their face. And in a society and a world where people are so consumed by their phones and technology, people are going to consume whatever it is they see. But if you don't consume the right stuff at the right time, then all you're going to be consuming is the wrong stuff at every time. So,
and what I think is really scary, not even scary, just enlightening to be aware of, a lot of these like news outlets that are being named as on the payroll or receiving funds, they're brands that historically you should be able to trust. Mm-hmm. Or like your gut tells you historically, like growing up, you're like, oh yeah, this is a news outlet I'm supposed to trust. And I think a lot of that's starting to be shattered. Like the New York Times, I know there's bias there for sure. We all see it, but historically the New York Times, if they're reporting on something, you're like, oh, this is like important news to be aware of. The BBC, like I've always viewed that as one of the bigger, European news outlets that, every news outlet's biased these days, but it's interesting that you have them and then Reuters, Politico. It's just like, what else do we not know yet that we're going to know here in the next, within the next year, knowing that we're just starting to dig into these, financial books of where is the government sending money?
Right. So let me ask this question real quick before you play that.
Yeah.
And this, I don't want to get off on a huge tangent on this. Do you think that, like, looking at it now, like when we talked about this like 3 or 4 months ago before he was officially elected president, we were like, obviously we still don't sway either way on this podcast, and but we just present, factual information to people. But we kind of had the idea that Trump was going to win. Like, there was no way that he wasn't going to win after everything that happened. Do you think that he's still that quote unquote good guy or the president that we need, or do you think that all this was a way for him to get in to start signing all these executive orders to make all these changes that are happening? I'm not saying some of it was not needed, but do you think like some of it he might be just going heavily overboard with, or do you think this is actually a way for our country to get back to where it should be?
That's a great question. I want to have faith that he is doing this in the best interests of the country long term. I think we might be going through a moment in history, and if it's going to happen, I think it's these next 4 years is like, do you remember growing up? Do you remember in high school first learning about the national debt and how they told it, like at the time, I think it was like 10, 11, 12 trillion. And it was like, that's a big number in and of itself. And I remember like people had a hard time wrapping their brain around 10 trillion then, where like now we're getting close to $40 trillion.
I think it's like 36.
Yeah. It's a number that like, how do you even quantify that in terms of like real money floating around there? Like, how do you even start to pay that off? And I think these are the steps that we have to take. And so I think it's also hard because some people will see like some of the payments going to these news outlets, right? It's only millions of dollars, or it might be $1 billion, something like that. And that seems like it's, small potatoes compared to almost $40 trillion, but it's got to start somewhere, right? If you can start chipping away at the deficit, you can eventually become profitable again and basically start paying off your debt the same way you'd pay off your own personal credit card debt, or like if you have a house loan, or you have to make more money than you spend. However that happens, you got to find a way to do that. And so I think we're at the starting line of that. Now, what I don't know is, can the momentum keep up, or will this be a flash in the pan where, this happens for the next couple of months and then it gets quiet, other news stories pop up, and the effort kind of gets dropped along the way. I want to think, because you have these characters, and I use the term characters deliberately. You have, Trump and Elon, and you have like these private equity guys he's brought in to like look at the books. You have David Sachs, other people. I think because some of them are as egotistical as they are, or they have a reputation, I want to believe that they'll keep pushing ahead with auditing the books. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, the news cycle's so wild. If there's like another like major, I don't know, assassination attempt or something, right? Like that's going to take precedent, I would assume.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And also I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I feel like it's only a matter of time before some nonsense like that happens again. Because it seemed like it was kind of normal throughout the campaign.
I'm not going to say anything, but Trump is going to be at the Super Bowl tomorrow. So
you would think hopefully you would think because he's there, security would be the best it could possibly be, right? I mean, it's already pretty
I mean,
locked
if they
down.
tried doing it at Trump rallies, like, I get it's a Super Bowl, but I'm just saying, if someone wants to be ballsy enough, they will. But yeah, no, I'm just curious about that because, I'm kind of the same way. Like I'm having faith and hoping that, and some people, like I have people on Facebook. I'm not one to be like, I'm going to unfriend you because of what you post or share or whatever. Share what you want to share. I don't care. Like, am I going to consume it? Probably not.
Yeah.
But I don't leave my opinion for social media because I think social media is just a way for people to leave their opinion without actually having that interaction to defend why you feel the way you feel. And so I feel that similar to what you do, like I'm hoping that this is that stepping stone to that. And I'm hoping that it's not just going to fall to the wayside. Cause like, again, what if we have that, or what if we have like another COVID,
Did you see, actually hilarious that you bring that up. Did you see Bill Gates going on The View this past week talking about that? Oh, I'm going to pull that up real quick. I'll come back to what I was going to do. Because yeah, he went on The View. Let's see, Bill Gates, The View. Let me share my screen. Let me make sure I share audio. All right. This was this past week. Bill Gates on The View.
You also called Elon Musk's political influence abroad, quote, insane, along with another word we can't repeat here. But what's your take on his political access and influence here in America right now?
Well, Elon, his private sector work, has been very innovative, really fantastic. A lot of private sector people, when they get into government, they don't take the time necessarily to see.
Actually, hang on.
what the
It
good
may not have
work
been
is
this
or-
one. Hang on. Let's see here. There was a clip. Virus. Maybe if I look virus in here. Actually, no, it was this clip. My bad. Here, let me start this over. My bad. It was in this clip.
Mr. Gates, you also called Elon Musk's political influence abroad, quote, insane, along with another word we can't repeat here. But what's your take on his political access and influence here in America right now?
Well, Elon, his private sector work, has been very innovative, really fantastic. A lot of private sector people, when they get into government, they don't take the time necessarily to see what the good work is or why it's structured the way it is. So I'm a little worried, particularly with this USAID stuff. My foundation partners with USAID on nutrition and getting vaccines out. And, there's incredible people. They're not actually worms that work there. So, hopefully we'll get
That look said it all.
Yeah.
back in shape. In fact, if we don't, you could have literally millions of deaths. So, with aid, people think, wow, how much do we give to these countries? As you said, it's less than 1%. People think it's 5% and it should be 2%, but it's actually under 1%.
Wow. And still saving lives. Well,
There was a clip, man. I thought it was that one where. Here we go.
before COVID, you say you spent the most sleepless nights worrying about pandemics. After COVID, has that changed? And if it has, what keeps you up now? Because we all need to know.
Yeah, the pandemic sadly was fairly predictable, and it won't be the last pandemic. The next one could be far more severe.
Convenient.
I mean, this one, it killed millions. It was awful. We got the vaccine. Actually, President Trump's leadership was a factor in getting that out quickly. And so when I spoke to him, I said, okay, here's some other medical innovations, including a thing called an HIV cure that could be accelerated. So, we should be more prepared, both for a pandemic. I'd say that's still number one. You can worry about nuclear war. You can worry about AI.
This
There's
sounds like fun.
plenty to worry about. But
Do you
overall,
sleep
I'm
at
an
all?
optimist.
Okay.
Well,
No, I mean, it's up to the government to think ahead on behalf of the citizens.
Yes.
So, pandemic, there's a lot that we should be doing that hopefully we'll get our act together before the next one comes. Overall,
So there's a next one coming.
Confirmed.
Just
But
get
here's the
ready.
thing, though: you can't be prepared for it unless you know that it's coming. I will say, with how COVID was, they made it seem like they knew COVID was going to happen, but it still took them as long as they did to get the vaccine out. A vaccine that they'd already been working on prior to it because they knew, but they just didn't expect it to be how it was. Who's to say Who's to say? Because I don't know what the number is of the amount of people worldwide that took the vaccine. Who's to say that it's not going to be the vaccine that people took that is supposedly supposed to help them that is going to in turn be that next pandemic?
A lot of people are asking that question. I just don't want to know the answer because it's probably terrifying. Going back to your question at the beginning about would you rather live in a world where all conspiracies are true or a world where ghosts can talk to humans and interact with them?
Did
You know?
y'all didn't take the vaccine, did you?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay, we didn't either.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we did not.
Yeah.
If they would have forced her to do that, I would have told her, I was like, you better walk out your job immediately. Like, they are not forcing you to take that. And
Yeah.
thankfully, I work in a career field where you can't force me to take it. So you can suck a. Nah, I'm not going to go there. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, but yeah,
Yeah.
I that there's so many unknown possibilities, and I'll let you kind of finish up what you want to talk about, but we'll pick this topic back up in just a second.
I see. Hey, how's it going? Oh, what'd you bring? I got brought treats. Oh, 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 thank you. What's this?
My wife had a women's night, and she didn't bring me anything.
Huh?
Clear poison.
Clear poison.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Tonight's the last episode of Unscripted Company.
Nice.
It looks like we did not make it to episode 55. We will see y'all in the next one.
That's fine. You're waving at him. I don't know why I waved at you though, but hi.
You're forgiven.
Thank you. Bye.
So it was funny because Dana opened up my door too, and she accidentally let Luna in. So I don't know if Luna's still in here.
Oh, that's
or if
funny.
she's
I
out
haven't
now.
seen her behind you, but
No, because
that would be funny if you see it.
I heard the door open, and then the cat jumped up here, and I had to let her down. So I don't know if she's still somewhere in here or if she's actually out now.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, the only thing I was going to do real quick was just because you called it out, just kind of had this video prepped. This was from the actual White House press secretary.
I think this is the exact one.
USAID has gotten a lot of attention in the last couple of days with some of these bizarre things that we've been, taxpayers have been funding. Now it looks like there are a couple media outlets that have been dragged into this conversation as far as USAID funding as well. Does the president have any comment on that?
So upon coming out here to the briefing room, I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. And I can confirm that the more than 8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayers' dime will no longer be happening. The Doge team is working on canceling those payments now. Again, this is a whole of government effort to ensure that we are going line by line when it comes to the federal government's books. And this president and his team are making decisions across the board on, do these receipts serve the interests of the American people? Is this a good use of the American taxpayers' money? If it is not, that funding will no longer be sent abroad, and American taxpayers will see.
Powerful, though, I think. If you're going to do it, that's the best way to do it. You got to go line by line to make that happen.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's definitely, I'll be honest, I'm glad that somebody is finally doing this, because you have to think, how many people, almost every single adult American probably just pays taxes and doesn't even ask where the taxes are going, because all it shows on our check is Medicaid and Social Security. But what if on every single person's paycheck, it started showing every single thing that their money was being sent to? And at that point, I'd be like, yo, I want to opt out of this. I want to opt out of this. I want to opt out of this. You're not taking money from this. If there's a way to control that, but I want more people to know about this kind of stuff, because your money's not going to anything useful right now. So.
Yeah, no, I've heard that approach before, and it's very intriguing. I don't know if it works in a real world example, but to where, like you said, once a year, maybe it's once every 3 years, whatever, you get a list of these are all the things your tax dollars could go to. And then you get to decide 10% here, 25% here, 3% here, and actually break it down. On a local level, it's how much is going to Parks and Rec? How much is going to, road repairs? But then I guess you have a concern of, well, if nobody goes towards certain things, but it's critical to, if nobody puts money towards road repair, which I would doubt that would happen, but if that were to happen, you still have to divert some money there to make stuff happen.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting exercise to see, if given the option, how would you select,
Definitely. Yeah, I'm glad that, we'll see what happens. We're only a month into this presidency. Actually, not even a month, half a month.
2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, something like that. And he's already they're already doing all this. So I definitely think that there's going to be more stuff that's going to be showing up. I guarantee it. And we'll just have to gauge it and see. But I know a lot of people, they're upset about all his other policies and stuff. And that goes back to what we said before. I just want to afford to be able to live.
That's the nice part, yeah. If you could,
I just want to afford groceries, maybe pay like $1.50 to $2 a gallon for a gallon of gas, like I'm not asking for like every little thing, but it's just like I like how people would rather have, I get it, but sometimes I don't. But it's like I like how people would just rather have like certain things that cater towards them versus like think about the entire population. Some people can't even live and afford groceries, and they're having to go on food stamps, and some people can't even get food stamps, and so it's like they can't get the assistance that they need. So I don't know. People need to start thinking about the bigger picture instead of just themselves. That as a country, all this stuff's happening. And
speaking of bigger picture, I think there's an asteroid headed toward Earth, from what I can see in your notes.
Yeah, there is an asteroid that is expected, as most of them are expected to hit Earth, but we will see what happens. So apparently there's odds of an asteroid impact in 2032 just went up. Here's why experts say you shouldn't worry. So I feel like that's an oxymoron because they're saying the odds just went up, but they're telling you not to worry. So
and also, why 2032? Where does that date come from? Because we'll still be around. So I need to know, are we getting hit by an asteroid? Are we not? Where?
The odds of the asteroid 2024 YR4 impacting Earth in 2032 have increased to 1 in 43. Despite this, you still shouldn't worry about the potential impact of this asteroid. That's because experts expected the impact probability of this asteroid. Here, I'll just go ahead and just throw this up here just so people can see. Which sits at the top of the Center for Near-Earth Object Studies Century asteroid risk list to increase. They also expect the chance of an impact to fall dramatically in the near future when we know more about its orbit. So essentially, they don't even have like legitimate footage. That's AI or some kind of generated photo.
Have they actually found something out there, or are they just saying
this apparently has been an asteroid that they've been looking at for a while.
So there's something they are tracking.
Yeah. A 1 in 83 chance of an impact represented a 1.2% chance of an impact. That meant there was a 98.8% chance that 2024 YR4 would miss Earth. The new figure of 1 in 43 represents a 2.3% chance to strike. So still a very low percentage. It really depends on how big it is. Like, it really does. If it's not a large one, cool. Hit the water, be done, cool. Or hit,
hit New York City, or hit Dallas, Texas. Like, it could happen. That's the crazy thing.
That is the
we
crazy
assume
thing.
These things hit out in the middle of nowhere, but one day it'll hit a major city.
So an image from Rankin shows the possible orbits along that line that 2024 YR4 could be in as of February 5th. So this is I think this is the path that it's taking. And like that's where the moon is coming in, or like the moon orbits, and that's Earth. So technically misses based on that. The high uncertainty, low uncertainty. I don't know how to read any of this, so I'm just kind of
Long story short, we have no idea. We know there's something big out there, and it's headed somewhat in this direction.
Yeah, but then again, though, how many asteroids have we had? They said are heading right for Earth, but yet they've somehow missed.
The ones that scare me are the ones that are announced, because I'm of the opinion, if something were coming, I don't think they'd tell us. I don't think they'd tell the general public.
I don't think they would either.
Have you ever looked into the Tunguska event? So I think it was technically a meteor, might have been an asteroid, that hit in Siberia, and it basically blew up in the atmosphere, but it created almost like a nuclear blast in the sense of the amount of force and pressure. Like real quick, in that tab, just Google it's Tunguska. So like Tunguska. Definitely misspelt it.
Tunguska.
Yeah, there you go. And then look at images, or even the Wikipedia, whatever. Okay, so you can see in the top right, do you see the green, the circle and the green?
You've shown this,
Yeah, that's like today, but you can see the black and white photographs of like the trees being leveled. So one of those, like if that were to hit Manhattan, Manhattan's gone. Like this happens on the planet from time to time. It's just, it hasn't happened in a populated area yet.
Yeah, this is the size of Washington, D.C.
Imagine if that happened.
That's insane. I mean, it's a lake now. It's a very beautiful lake.
Right? Prime real estate.
Right. But yeah, no, that's insane. I definitely think though that, again, I agree with you that if something was going to happen, I don't think they would tell us. That's just unfortunately because they don't want to create mass panic, which I'll be honest, like, okay, don't tell me. It is what it is, but it's, I would rather them at least tell people to say like, hey, like, don't panic. There's nothing we can do. Just try to get home to your loved ones as soon as possible. Try to, do whatever. Like, that way then you can spend your last moments with the people that you care about and that you love.
Did you ever see the movie Don't Look Up?
No.
It's interesting. It's some people like it, some people don't, but it's got Leonardo DiCaprio and a number of other people that I'm drawing a blank at the moment. But the whole idea is you have these like 2 or 3 scientists who are observing there is that like Earth ending asteroid headed towards Earth, and they try to tell people, and just nobody cares. Nobody cares to look up. They're all just out there living their life so absorbed with it that they're not willing to look up and be like, oh, hey, like we're all going to die. I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah. I remember seeing it when it came out a couple years ago. I think it's an interesting watch. Nothing groundbreaking, but the whole theory of, even if they told us, would we care? I say we being, civilization as a whole.
If they knew with like, for me to not care, it would have to be like in the 90% chance that we're going to die. Like, if you give me like there's a 50% chance, like, I'm probably still going to care because I'm like, oh, like the chances are still good that it might not hit us. But if you come at me with like a 90+%, like this is it, like I'm like, okay, this is it. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to spend my last moments, like, again, spending time with my wife, cats, reading my Bible and just hanging out until it's time, like at the end of the day.
Now, would you hang out at the apartment or would you go to like a 5-star hotel, get a penthouse suite, put on the credit card? You don't have to pay it off.
I mean, if I was able to, like, well, like not if I was able to, but like if I had time to do that, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like I would just do whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's what. I don't know. Okay, let me ask you this question then. I'll save that question for next week.
Oh.
I'll save that question for next week. I'll save that question. It's going to be a deep question, but I'll save that question for next week.
Okay.
Kind of pick up off this, but yeah. As of now, you don't have to worry about anything. There's no chances of this hitting us anytime soon.
It's tomorrow's problem.
It's tomorrow's problem, and in this case, it's 2032's problem. So just don't worry about that. The other couple things that I have on here, kind of going back to the COVID aspect, but for those of you who don't know, and there was actually a conspiracy theory behind this. Actually, I don't even want to say it's a conspiracy theory, but for those of you who might be buying groceries and you're buying eggs, you've probably noticed that the price of your eggs has gone up quite substantially.
Man, I saw the videos of people going to Costco trying to buy like shopping carts worth of eggs. I don't know why. It's the same thing with toilet paper. Like, what are you going to do? Resell it? Like,
yeah, like I buy 2 cartons every week, usually, because I usually go through about 2 cartons a week. I buy 2 cartons of eggs every single week. I keep 4 in my fridge, and they're all 18 counts. So it's like, I have plenty of eggs. Like, I don't need that. And we've also got a sister-in-law who has chickens also. So if we really need eggs, I can be like, hey, can we get a carton of eggs? So apparently, like, there's this race to sell chickens, but let me kind of start off by saying all this, because this really isn't the main article that I kind of want to touch on. But they were saying how there was this bird flu that was going around, and it killed off all these chickens. But there was this political figure that she was caught in a scandal where they actually had ordered them to murder millions of chickens that didn't need to be murdered.
Yeah.
Like, they overplayed the numbers heavily, and they just killed millions of chickens for no reason. So it's like, okay, cool. So now we're down a bunch of chickens. In this particular case, the avian flu were detected in New York. Governor Kathy Hochul said there was no immediate threat to the public health, and that the temporary closure of bird markets in the city and its Westchester County and Long Island suburbs came out of an abundance of caution. Avian flu has hit farms nationwide, led to the slaughter of millions of birds, and driven up egg prices. That I don't know if it was her, but it was someone else that, like, essentially, like I said, they had no reason to kill those chickens because the numbers were essentially fluffed.
It reminds me of. Do you remember how? What's his name? Governor Cuomo in New York during COVID got a lot of heat after the fact because he made the decision to put the elderly folks back in the nursing home, and then COVID ran rampant through there and caused a problem. I'm getting the same vibe, which is a different governor, same state, New York. If I don't know the details behind it, but if they were making decisions that were causing more damage than good.
Yeah.
Well,
I said right here, that meant the employees in La Granja, Al Halal certified poultry market in Manhattan's Harlem neighborhood were rushing to sell the remainder of its inventory, around 200 live chickens of different varieties, along with turkeys, quail, ducks, roosters, pigeons, and rabbits. Any remaining animals would be slaughtered and given away to employees and longtime customers, according to Jose Fernandez, the owner. We're going to lose money for now, he said, but the law is the law. They know what they're doing.
Oh, that's crazy. So they were given a date of hey, any inventory you have on this certain date is it's got to be killed. And so they're in a rush just to sell as many birds as possible. That's crazy.
And then it says the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention has said that the virus poses low risk to the general public. The agency said there have been 66 confirmed cases of bird flu in humans in the U.S., with illnesses mild and mostly detected among farm workers who were exposed to sick poultry or dairy cows. So, again...
Bill Gates was warning us.
Again, what are you going to do? You're going to shut the whole country. Trump's not going to let the country be shut down a second time. I can promise you that.
Yeah, I don't think he wants that to happen again.
No, and he's going to do everything he can to keep that from happening too. But yeah, it says more than 156 million birds nationwide have been affected by the outbreak, many at large farming operations that have had to slaughter their entire flocks. So millions of birds gone. And I mean, I'll be honest, I pay about $6.50 for an 18 count of large eggs. That's about how much I pay per carton. So not bad. I mean, $13 for 2 cases. They don't even sell the medium size. Winco just sold out of the 60 count eggs.
Oh, okay.
But the 60 count eggs, the medium size was $33. I was
great. Wait, how many eggs are in that?
60. It's 5 dozen.
60? That's crazy.
So you're looking at 50 cents an egg.
Yeah.
Versus I could buy an 18 count for $6. And
does that even fit in a residential fridge?
Yeah.
60.
It's in a very, but they're medium sized eggs, so they're a little bit smaller. So it's about a box
okay.
About 18
that's pretty good
inches,
size.
about 18 to 20 inches.
Yeah.
Length times width. And it's on trays too, so it's 20 let's see, 60 eggs, so I don't know how you'd I want to say it's 30, it's just 2 layers.
Okay.
So 30 on one layer, 30 on the other, but we just buy the 18 count. It's cheaper. If you really look at it in the long run, it's actually about if they don't charge you, because they charge you on the third one, they upcharge you on the third one. So you could buy 2 at normal price and they upcharge you to $8 or something like that for the set for the third carton. So if I was to buy 2 cartons and then go back in and buy 2 more cartons, I'm actually saving about $8 to $10.
Okay.
And I have more eggs actually, because I would have 72 eggs instead of 60. So
yeah. Huh.
So I know how to grocery shop efficiently.
Yeah.
I gotta save that money.
You got it down to science.
Right. But however, on top of the bird flu, there is another flu that is only in Alabama. So think what you want about what
that's concerning.
It's the new Camp Hill virus in Alabama is relative of deadly Nipah, the first of its kind in the U.S. A close relative. I'll just throw this up here.
I was like, what? I haven't heard of this yet.
A close relative of the deadly Nipah and Hendra viruses has been detected in North America for the first time, specifically in the U.S. state of Alabama. A pathogen, which scientists have named Campylvirus, was detected in 4 northern short-tailed shrews. The animals were caught in 2021 near a town of the same name in Tallapoosa County, Alabama.
Man, all these Alabama names.
That's
man.
a name. After being captured for a study, the animals have been dissected and their organs frozen for later analysis. It was in those analyses that the virus was discovered. It's a type of henipavirus. I don't know, a group of viruses that typically infect bats, but have been known to spill over into various mammals, including humans. In people, henipaviruses can cause severe respiratory illness and a type of inflammation of the brain known as encephalitis. Okay, that's not concerning at all.
It's fine. It's fine.
But
they said they found this back in what, 2021?
The article was published like 2 days ago. Oh yeah. Animals were caught in 2021 near a town.
So why are we just now hearing about this? I guess it says there's a paper that was released in the Journal for Infectious Diseases. Yeah, if you scroll up a little bit, see the hyperlink in there. It says there's a paper released January 17th in the Journal of the Emerging Infectious Diseases. The discovery raises concerns that the virus may be more widespread than what's thought. Okay, that's concerning. In particular, it provides evidence that these shrews, which can be found across Central and Eastern North America, can harbor these types of viruses. Oh, so the concern is like they found it and they're like, okay, this is not a good virus, but also, FYI, these shrews all across Central and Eastern North America could be carrying the virus. I wonder if USAID has been funding any shrew activities.
Maybe. But we'll see what happens. Right now, it doesn't seem like a lot of people. This virus affected.
Have you actually ever seen a shrew? Like, you know, like I know what that is. Like I've seen them, but like I've never seen them in person. Have you ever seen a shrew running around?
Nope.
Okay, we just don't really get those in Texas, do we?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, says there's no evidence that to suggest that the provisionally named Campylvirus has affected humans. It says, by comparison, Campylvirus is more closely related to other shrew-borne viruses seen in Southeast Asia and Europe than that bat-borne viruses like Hendra and Nipah, he said. That's the author of this article. It says only one other shrew-borne virus has been identified, and that is Langia virus. Infected 35 people in China between 2018 and 2021. Causing symptoms such as fever, fatigue, and cough. In rare cases, impaired liver and kidney function, but importantly, no deaths were reported. So, again, to my knowledge, no concern. But again, they're always finding these new viruses and things that we didn't even know existed. So, at the end of the day, it kind of goes back to my other earlier statement where we don't really know what is going to be out there for a next potential virus, and I don't have now here again, you know, since we're not a part of the WHO and all this other kind of stuff anymore, it's like, how is that going to fare for us in the future if something does happen? Like, how are we gonna manage it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it would really impact us too much. The only thing I want to make sure that, you know, we have ourselves covered in terms of where the pharmaceuticals are coming from. Like, do you remember in 2020 when a lot of the international shipments got halted in the ports? Like, you had the big pile up in ports, and these cargo boxes were in short supply because they were in different parts of the globe and they couldn't repurpose them because of COVID lockdowns and whatnot.
Right.
Well, we came to find out how many of the minerals that are used in our day-to-day medications come from overseas, and if they stop coming from overseas, we don't have them here. So things like aspirin, ibuprofen, Tylenol, like very simple things, which is also true for a lot of these other prescriptions that keep people alive in a certain
You could technically make your own painkillers. Like if you
Well,
take
yeah,
out all
but it might kill you also at the same time.
like if you take out a lot of the additional stuff that they put in them,
Yeah.
like to make an ibuprofen or a Tylenol, like it's very like if you know how to identify the certain plants and stuff and the certain minerals, like natural minerals that go into it, you can make your own without having all the additional like chemicals and additives in it. So it'd be a more natural painkiller than your ibuprofen and Tylenol.
Yeah. I was trying to remember, like it's literally like the raw ingredients that go into some of these medicines that like we don't have here. It's like we get them shipped in. So like I guess you could make your own if you really wanted to become like a chemist and figure that out. But like the big brands that stock all of our shelves, the Walgreens, the CVS, Walmart, grocery stores, etc. Like if we get cut off from something, like it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be very ruthless.
That's what worries me about this whole tariff thing to an extent.
Yeah, I kind of view a lot of that as. I mean, you're not wrong. It is something to be concerned with, but I also think it's a bit of a power play. It's one of those where it's like we're playing a game of chicken. It's like a political game of chicken.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But have you noticed that there hasn't really been that much talk about World War III since Trump got back in office?
That is true. That's very true.
Just saying.
Yeah.
So stock up on your Tylenol, people.
Yep.
And your ibuprofens and your Advils and your Aleve. Stock up on it all.
Did you have anything else? I thought maybe I saw one more on your list. Or
no, I mean that was my few. I mean, I two of them kind of went hand in hand. Just the virus aspect of things and just some kind of updates about like the impact of like the food market and stuff like that with all the chicken stuff going on and everything. So yeah.
Well, I got a quick one to close us out here. It's a headline from the New York Post. I saw this one pretty viral on Twitter this past week. The U.S. Navy fires its high-powered laser weapon that could obliterate warships and drones because they've released photos of it. So directly from the New York Post, it says, a jaw-dropping new photo shows the U.S. Navy firing off a drone-destroying laser weapon dubbed Helios from one of its warships. The undated image, which was published in the U.S. Center for Countermeasures annual report this month, captured the warfighting laser technology being fired from the USS Preble destroyer in the middle of the ocean. The demo was to, quote, verify and validate the functionality, performance, and capability of it with the integrated optical dazzler and surveillance system against an unmanned aerial vehicle target, the report stated. So there's a photo here. It's a black and white photo. I don't know if it's a real video or not. I think someone might have taken the image and used AI to generate a video, but it's like a legitimate laser that's coming off of this warship that's going to be used to take out drones and potentially other warships as well. It says the undated image, which was published in the U.S. Center for Countermeasures annual report this month, captured the warfighting laser technology being fired from the USS Preble destroyer in the middle of the ocean. They have another image here saying it comes after the UK tested its own high-powered laser weapon dubbed Dragonfire against aerial targets last year. Now this one looks a little more ominous because of the red hue, the red tint here.
Mm-hmm.
It says the report stopped short of providing specific details about the test, including where or when the laser weapon was fired. The Helios weapon, which uses a 60 kilowatt high energy laser, can engage targets at the speed of light, is an advanced directed energy system developed for the U.S. by Lockheed Martin, a familiar name that constantly works with the U.S. government.
I mean, I definitely think it's interesting. Again, like if it's just like a straight laser beam or if it's like a rail gun, I would honestly say a rail gun would be more believable.
Yeah.
But if it's just like a straight beam, then I mean, I could see either or, honestly, being the aspect of things. The question is though, we haven't had to use it yet as far as, defense purposes. But it'd be interesting to see what it could actually do.
Yeah, that's true. Part of me is kind of curious. I'm like, they're saying the example use case is to take down drones, which makes total sense. Part of me wonders, what about these UAPs that have been flying around? Is it like some defense against that? Is it some technology maybe they even gave us? Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? I think it's only time will tell. I mean, we'll definitely stay posted on that because I'm interested to see what's going to happen with that. Now that we're kind of gaining that technology, but I mean, it was either we were going to get it from them, or we were going to eventually stumble upon that ourselves because of just how technology is advancing so quick. So one way or the other.
Well, I know we wanted to try to do that takeaway thing. What do you think from this week? What's like the biggest news that you think came out of this week, or do you have any final thoughts on anything?
The biggest news I think that came out of this week was probably the USAID stuff, but also the tariffs that kind of went hand in hand, because I think the tariffs officially went into effect this week.
And then were quickly rescinded. Did you see how quickly that happened?
I didn't see that, but I did see how the Mexican president made a statement, and Canada has also started posting pictures that they're no longer going to be carrying U.S. products in their stores. But the U.S. or the Mexican president was like, if you want a wall, you got a wall, and then was like, if you're going to put a wall up, we just don't have to use your products. Like, we don't have to use anything that you give us. Like, we can go support the European countries and stuff. We'll see how well your infrastructure stays after that. Like, making those threats, essentially, the whole power play thing that you mentioned. So I'd probably say between those two, that was probably the two biggest stories as far as like political, economical stuff goes. I mean, as far as anything else, I mean, sports-wise, those of you who don't know, Luka Doncic, RIP. Like, he's not with us anymore. So
part of me almost, now that we know much more than we did last week when we were initially talking about it, maybe next week, because I don't know, because didn't the Mavericks play today?
Yeah, they played Houston and they won.
Yeah, I saw photos from the American Airlines Center where they had like security gates up and stuff because they were worried about people getting a little too rowdy in opposition of management. Part of me thinks like maybe next week I want to bring back up that topic because it's an interesting theory that I've heard multiple people who know much more than I do about this situation, about how the Mavericks' new ownership could be using this trade to parlay into legalizing gambling in the state of Texas. And if Texas lawmakers opt not to, well, then potentially the Mavericks could leave Dallas for probably Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seen that too.
Yeah.
Well, only time will tell. We'll keep y'all posted.
Yep, we will. Riley, do you have any words of wisdom? Anything to leave these people with before we call it
Words
close?
of wisdom. Words of wisdom. Let me think about this for a second.
It's gonna be extra wise.
It's gonna be extra wise. I don't know. What do y'all think about the uncovering of where y'all's tax money's going? Do you think that, I generally want to know in the comments, do y'all think that y'all's tax dollars are actually being spent wisely, or do you think that the money could definitely be used for better resources elsewhere? Do you think it was necessary to kill off 156 million chickens for a so-called bird flu that may or may not exist? Because again, they don't tell us anything until they know, but it comes from the government's mouth, not the farmers and stuff. If it was coming from the farmers, if I could find something concrete about that, I'd much more believe it. And then also too, the Alabama virus. I mean, is it actually something to be concerned about, or is it not? Again, we want to know y'all's thoughts in the comments if y'all feel that any of this really poses a huge threat, and just I want to know what y'all's thoughts are on that. Just the current, since the 2 weeks Trump has been in office, I want to know what y'all think as far as how y'all think things are already going, how you think they're going to continue to go, and what y'all's hopes are for the future.